What's going on, y'all? So I'm sure you're probably, excited for Blue Protocol Star Resonance, and you're kind of thinking, well, oh, how do I prepare for it? How do I prepare for it? Maybe you're not thinking that, but I'm going to let you know how to prepare for it regardless anyway. So we have a few things to go over here as we get closer to the closed recruitment for Blue Protocol Star Resonance, and of course towards the global launch for the game, as we just recently had the Chinese version launch as well. So let's get you set up, get you good to go, answer any questions that you have, and really get you in the mindset of being prepared for this anime style MMORPG that we have coming just around the corner. But first, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out tremendously. Thank you. So first things first, y'all, I really want to just come out the gate and address one single thing here. The biggest thing that I want you to know before we go over everything that you need to know in terms of getting really prepared for this game is the one thing that will really prepare you for this game is to stop watching all these other videos of people playing on the Chinese version. You really want to mess up your experience in an MMORPG before it releases. Best way to do that is to spend too much time watching videos of other people play it in a different region before it comes to your region, before you have access to it. That's the best way to mess up your experience in an MMORPG. MMORPGs are very much a expansive world where you go in and you figure things out yourself and you explore things yourself. The feeling of adventure is largely what MMORPGs are. The feeling of discovery is what these games are. So the first thing I would recommend to you out the gate, just straight out the gate, is stop going into all these streams and spending all this time watching these streams. Now, of course, if you're interested, go watch some streams, watch a little bit of gameplay to see, if you really like it, maybe ask some questions. But all I'm saying is I don't habitually spend hours upon hours every day seeing every new thing that's being released, so and so and so and so and so, because you're only going to spoil it for yourself. I had a comment recently on my previous video talking about the regional launch, and someone was like, yeah, the thing that sucks about, simultaneous, not having simultaneous launches and stuff is that it ruins the experience for the Westerners because now we see everything, everyone knows the best gear to get, so. And someone responded to them, which I agree with. Someone responded to them was, no, that's on the Westerners' fault. That's on the Westerners, that's on their plate, on them opting to watch and dive in so much into this other content from this other region instead of waiting for their own. So, and that's very true. That's entirely true. Ultimately, only you have the power to mess up your experience for you when it comes to an MMORPG. So if you decide to just go out and you're actively looking for this stuff, then naturally you're probably going to ruin your experience a little bit, quite frankly. And then also this person, mentioned the best gears and stuff like that. Don't think like that in an MMORPG, y'all. An MMORPG is meant to be different. It's meant to have different roles to play. There is no meta. There's, what I'm saying? There's the reason why there's all these different classes that you see, because they all perform in different ways. So always remember that, y'all. Do not lock yourself into a meta. Please don't. This is the worst way to experience an MMORPG, is by locking yourself into a meta. Oh, you have to have this. You have to play it this certain type of way. Oh, this class is the absolute best. No, it might be good if you play a certain way. The other class might be good if you play a different type of way. You know what I'm saying? Do not lock yourself into a meta in an MMORPG. Do not do it. I'm telling you, enjoy the game, please. But first and foremost, I just want to say that off the jump, so that way y'all are aware. That's the easiest way to mess up your experience. So don't do that. Try to refrain too much from watching a whole lot of gameplay videos for the game that really just dive in. Like I said, here and there, really, if you're trying to understand it, cool, or have any questions, cool. But try to refrain from just deep diving for hours upon hours upon hours watching the Chinese version of this game. Wait till you see some global stuff coming out, some English version stuff coming out, so that's more representative of what you're going to see. Also, keep in mind, it's an MMORPG, which means that it will always be getting updated. So when the game comes out for global, one of the benefits of that, of it having a staggered release, is that most of the time when that happens with an MMORPG, the second region benefits from it because they get a smoother launch. Now, if y'all are aware, the Chinese launch here has a lot of hiccups. So we're likely to not see that to that same level when it launches on global because they have had a chance to see it and now they can smooth it out. So we benefit from that in that regard. So do keep that in mind as well. And then of course, it's an MMORPG, so there's always going to be updates. So there's really no, there's no best gear or whatever, because that best gear is going to be not the best gear in a little bit, or whenever this is released, or that's released, or this is released, or whatever. So just let y'all know that off the jump, and let's dive into some other stuff that you might want to be aware of, or that you should be aware of. The other thing I want you to be aware of here is the specs. So of course, this is very important for y'all. Some of y'all maybe did not think about this, but this is very important for y'all to understand. So the specs for this game are as listed here. So you'll see that it's a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 6GB or Radeon RX 5080 or better, with the CPU here, Intel i7 8700 or Ryzen 5 3600. And that's the minimum. You can see, of course, recommended is a bit higher over here, looking at a 2060 or a RX 5600 XT. So these are kind of your recommendations here, and I'll show y'all this little chart right here. So in case you're wondering, okay, where does my card fit? Where does my GPU fit? Where does my computer fit? And of course, if you want to check what your GPU is on your computer, you can always go into your little search bar on Windows and type in system, and that should, yeah, that'll pull it up. Type in system, it should pull up system information, and that will show what your GPU is, and you'll see here, you can compare to what I'm about to show you here. So that brings me to this list right here. So I want to just go ahead and just kind of show y'all, so we all have a visual example here of what to be expecting in regards to this. I guess I could keep this zoomed in because it's really just showing this part right here. But so that way, like if you have a 1060 or whatever, like pretty much the cards that are in this range, because some of y'all may not be too tech savvy, so you don't know, okay, well, this is this card. Is my card better than that, or is it worse than that? So I'm going to show you here so that way you can see if your card is here. So this is the 1060 right here. As you see right here, highlighted. Okay, you're going to highlight okay, there we go. That's the 1060 right there, which was released in 2016. So keep that in mind too. If you have a more current system that was, released after 2016, then there's a good chance you probably have a graphics card that is better than this. That's not guaranteed, though, of course. It's not guaranteed. But there's a good chance. Now, as you can see here, we'll scroll up this list just so you can see, and so you can zoom in a little bit. I'm not sure how well that is on the screen, if y'all can read that. Hopefully y'all can read that okay. But you can see here, let's see, where's that? Where's the 1060 go again? It was 2016. Where is it? Where'd you go? There you go. So this is starting point right here. And you can scroll up. I'll just scroll up through this list real quick so y'all can see here everything that performs a bit better. So these are in order of what performs what. So anything above this 1060 is going to be performing better. So if you see your card on this list, then that means that your GPU is at least meeting the minimum. Of course, the higher up you get on this list, the better you want for your performance in the game. So of course you want to get as high as possible if you can, if possible. And so that way your game is running smoothly, because 1060 is the minimum. So you're going to be running stuff on low. It's not going to look as good. Whereas you want to get higher up into this recommended, so that way you can see a bit better performance there, and things get a bit smoother as well when you're playing with that recommended or higher, correct? So there's a good plethora of cards here. So many of y'all are probably prepared for this. The minimum requirements are pretty low, considering that card was released in 2016. So, and then of course, if you have a 5090, the only thing you have to worry about here is your NVIDIA drivers, because we know how that goes. But otherwise, you should be good for a 5090. Otherwise, you should be good for a 5090. Which then brings us to our CPUs. So the minimum on the CPU here was the Intel i7 8700 or AMD 5 3600. So this is where you stand at right here. And we'll just scroll through this nice and quickly just so you can see it. Just so that way, if you see your CPU on there, remember, type in system in your settings in your Windows search bar. You can pull that up. That's the easiest way to do it. Let's make this easy for all you people who are not tech people. Of course, there's better ways to look at your system, to pull up your system information, such as HW or CPU-Z or whatever. But just in general, just make it as easy for people who are not tech savvy this is your best way to kind of just see what's on here. If you see your CPU on this list, then you know that your CPU is at least of minimum capability. If you're seeing it as I scroll up through here, you're seeing that it's as of least minimum capabilities. So if you have a minimum capability CPU and you have a minimum capability GPU, then you meet those minimum requirements. And so ideally speaking, you want to have these coinciding because you don't want one bottlenecking the other too heavily. Remember, your GPU can be very strong, but if you have a CPU that's super old, your CPU will bottleneck your GPU. So your GPU won't perform as well as it could perform because your CPU is bottlenecking it. And that can work in reverse as well. So do keep that in mind. Try to have those kind of even out to some degree, some varying degree. But as you can see, there's a pretty big large range here between these CPUs that have been released and how old that other CPU was, the minimum requirement. So you're probably good in this front too. I mean, we saw the minimum GPU was a 2016 card. So the CPU, I'm not sure when the 8700 came out, but probably around the same time, I imagine. So you should be okay here, dude. This list is going on for forever. There's a lot of CPUs here. Oh my sweet baby Numsy. So yeah, y'all are probably all good on the CPU juncture. I would imagine. Y'all are all probably good. I'm actually very surprised that this is scrolling up so far. That was kind of crazy actually. There's that many CPUs have been released since the freaking i7 8700. Good lord. But at any rate, that really is what I want y'all to understand here. So that way, y'all are prepared for it. Now, if you're wondering about mobile in specific, the mobile is really just designed in general to be optimized. There's no real set specific stats for it. However, keep in mind that the mobile size is much significantly smaller than the PC version. PC is like 35 gigabytes, whereas the mobile version is like 7 gigabytes. So it's very dumbed down and optimized for it, for mobile. So as long as you have a phone that's been released in the last maybe, 5, 6, 7 years maybe, then you're probably okay. A fairly recent phone, you're probably okay. Of course, the older that gets, the more likelihood you can have an issue with overheating. So the performance might not be very good. And then, of course, having a solid connection as well. So keep that in mind too. But all in all, this is really what I want to dive into, get y'all prepared, how to prepare for the game. That's coming right around the corner. Remember, we have a closed beta. That's on the 24th, which I'll let y'all know all the information about. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, we'll be keeping you up to date as we approach the launch. And of course, when the launch happens, I did play JP for the entire duration of it for 1 year and 7 months. So I'm familiar with the IP, of course, and we are excited to try this new variation of the game and really dive into it. So be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, y'all. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below. I'm always glad to help out. And I will see y'all in the next one. Much love. Holla.
Spike content.